And of course, as Nigeria enters 2025, citizens have high hopes for a better year after facing numerous challenges in 2024, including harsh economic policies, fuel subsidy removal, and inflation. Nigerians are eager for positive change. Nigerians expect the government to tackle inflation, which currently stands at 34.6%, and also reduce the cost of living. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has promised to lower inflation to 15% and boost food production to achieve this goal. Citizens demand better governance, accountability, and transparency from their leader. They expect the president to fulfill his campaign promises and also deliver democracy dividends. Nigerians hope for improved security, particularly in the southeastern region where insecurity has been a major concern. The government is expected to address this issue and ensure the safety of its citizens. The youth are eager for opportunities and empowerment. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has announced plans to hold a national youth conference in the first quarter of 2025, which is seen as a positive step for youth inclusiveness. Nigerians expect investment in infrastructure, including roads, healthcare, and education. The government's plans to establish the National Credit Guarantee Company to extend access to credit for individuals and businesses is also seen as a positive move. Overall, Nigerians are hopeful that 2025 will bring positive change and improvement in various aspects of their lives. Well, joining me on the program at this time to discuss this is the former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Diran Odeyemi. He joins virtually from Oyo State. I also have Professor Simeon Nna. He joins me physically in the studio as a public affairs analyst. And, of course, at some point we have a third guest. But, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time on the program.
You're welcome, and Happy New Year, viewers.
All right. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, great.
I'm happy to join you today.
All right, sir. Let me start off with you, Professor Simeon.
Thank you.
I mean, we know that last year, 2024, had a lot of challenges, particularly for Nigerians.
Exactly.
And there are high hopes in terms of expectations, as regards from the economy, even to politics, the living cost and all of that. Let me just ask for you, are there takeaways from 2024?
It's a mixed grill. You cannot say there are no takeaways. But the problem we have is that the challenges that we had in 2024 is that they were daunting challenges. And statistically, as a researcher, if you have 75% coefficient, you can generalize. So the challenges were so much that some of the takeaways, you can't even begin to pinpoint them. In your narrative, you said something about the NLC chairman, saying that the tax bills should be withdrawn. And if you listen to the president's first broadcast, he said there's no going back on that tax bill. We had discussed this tax bill on this channel.
Yes.
And I said succinctly that that tax bill, for me, it's a good one. However, there are issues that need to be tackled. And these are some of the issues that are making people to feel that, no, don't go on with this. That day I recalled, I used the Edo example, Edo elections. Because during the Edo elections and after, they said they are going to use the same templates they used in Edo for Ondo and Anambra, the off-cycle elections. And naturally, when people speak, they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. From what you say, we can begin to deduce what you can do in future. So people are looking at the tax reforms he did in Lagos when he was Lagos State Governor, how it panned out. And they are saying he might still use the same templates And that is why some people are arguing that that clause that a third party could be used to, collect those taxes should be expunged from that bill. I listened to Taiwo saying that, no, that what they meant was not consultant, that what they meant were technology, that if you're using a technology, is a third party, is not a FIRS or the new tax body that's going to collect those things. And some of us are saying, look, these things are easier said than done. When it comes to the RACS tax law, they will tell you in that law, consultant was mentioned. So if they bring in a consultant, the way they did in Lagos, nobody is going to query that. And if they do it that way, it's going to destroy every gain that tax law is going to bring in. Now, the fuel prices had gone up and it's coming down at least below 1,000. It went above 1,000. But if somebody is telling you that because fuel, I think the list is 935. I bought 935 yesterday from Mrs. MRS. Now, if fuel is selling at 935 and the exchange rate of dollar is 1,500 official rates, recall that the official rate in 2024 was, I think, about 1,004. And it almost clocked 2,000. It almost got to 2,000 before it started coming back to 1,700 and something. So if we are saying official rate is 1,005, it is a tall order. And it is a talk shop for the president to say he's going to bring the inflation down to 15% from 34.6%. That's a tall order.
Right.
It's not going to be possible in the next 2 years.
It's not. So you are saying that the president's ambition to drop inflation rate to 15%.
It's not realistic.
It's
because
unrealistic.
The economic indices does not support what he's saying.
Okay, I think I should just bring in, let me leave you for a moment, Professor. Let me bring in Mr. Diran Odeyemi into the conversation. The president, in his address to the nation today, actually, just let me read a part of that address. He said that economic indicators point to a positive and encouraging outlook for our nation. Fuel prices have gradually decreased, and we've recorded foreign trade surpluses in 3 consecutive quarters. Foreign reserves have risen, and the naira has strengthened against the US dollar, bringing greater stability. These are some of the things the president did say this morning. Diran, what do you make of this?
In my culture, in Yoruba land, you don't say another is telling a lie. What you say is that another is being economical with the truth. The president is not feeling the pain of an average Nigerian. He relies on the reports from his aides, who are not even feeling the pain of the common people in Nigeria. So the president can come up with such speech. And I can equally say that the president only read to Nigerians what was written to him, what was written for him by his aides. It's far from the reality on ground.
But you said the president only read. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Of course,
yes.
Mr. Odeyemi. You said the president just read what was written to him. But we saw a president who actually did field questions from journalists in a media parley, and they seemed pretty much abreast of some of the happenings across the nation. So, I mean, does that still hold water to say the president has a disconnect with what the average Nigerian is going through?
That is exactly what I'm saying. That's the summary of what I'm saying. That's the summary of what I'm putting across to you. That the presidency and the aides are not likely feeling the pain of an average Nigerian, and they can't feel it. They cannot feel it. Imagine recently, look at what happened in Oyo State and in Abuja. People scrambling for food. How many lives were lost? That is a simple example to tell you that Nigerians are hungry. And whatever policy is being pushed forward by the presidency or by the federal government or by the APC government that has not put food on the table of an average Nigerian is a bad policy. There's nothing you can say about it. So if the presidency is now saying the naira has grown, the petrol has come down with about 50 naira or 50 kobo short of what we are buying, The point is, Nigerians are suffering under this administration. It's beyond rhetoric.
All right.
I think there should be a review of the policy generally. You need to overhaul whatever is not putting food on the table of Nigerians.
All right.
Where is the work? How many people has been employed since this administration came on board? All the policies have not helped an average Nigerian to survive. That's just the simple truth.
All right, Diran, let me leave you for a moment. Let me bring into the conversation MTAR Muhammad, is the CEO of Finance with MTAR. He's joining virtually from Abuja. MTAR, it's great to have you again on the program. Happy New Year. Let me start with that. And I believe you've had some of the things, of course, the guests have said on the program. I would throw the same question to you. Any takeaways from 2024 for you? And from that excerpt of the president's speech, what is your reaction?
Well, 2024, I always describe it as the good, the bad, the ugly. The good in the sense that we saw a government that were earning so much in terms of revenue that has come into the larger economy, both by local government, federal government. That is good for us. Finally, we've seen fuel price come down from a height of over 1,000 to just above 1,000, hovering between 950, 925, depending on 935, depending on which of the station you are buying from or which city you are buying from. But the good news is that at least the worst we can buy is a fuel, just maybe 1,000 naira. So for me, good news. And also we've seen that for the first time, Nigerians are not complaining. We are not getting Labour Congress going to government to negotiate price, to bring down petroleum product. On their own, we see market forces determining the price of our most valuable product that drive the Nigerian economy. So for me, that's good. The bad part of it is that we've seen an exchange rate that is still struggling to maintain stability. For me, that is also not a good news for the economy. We've seen exchange rate move to about 1,600, 1,700. So that is bad for the economy. Then the ugly is the suffering of the ordinary Nigerian in terms of having food on their table. That for me is the ugly part of 2024 when you look at what has happened. But you can't rule out that they were good, they were bad, and they were ugly aspect in the economy in 2024.
All right. Let me, of course, call on the screen again that graphics that has the highlights of what the president did say this morning to Nigerians. The president actually did touch on some issues. Some of the highlights is the economic growth through decreased fuel price and foreign trade surpluses, lowering food and drug costs through increased production and local manufacturing, establishing a national credit guarantee company to expand access to credit, and also promoting patriotism and national identity through the National Identity Project and the launch of the Youth Confirm, the much-talked Youth Confirm, to promote youth inclusiveness and nation building. Well, let me come back to the studio. Professor, you said that the president's ambition to drop the inflation rate to 15% is a tall dream. Maybe I should just read, that part of the president's speech where he talked about inflation rate and how he hopes to drop it. He said that in 2025, our government is committed to intensifying efforts to lower these costs by boosting food production and promoting local manufacturing of essential drugs and other medical supplies. We are resolute in our ambition to reduce inflation from the current high of 34.6% to 15%. With diligent work and God's help, we will achieve this goal and provide relief to all our people.
Without sounding like a broken record, I still stand with what I said earlier. That is a very tall order.
But he said it will boost local production. He hopes to do that.
How does he intend to do that? The food basket of the nation, the Fulani herdsmen are still attacking them. They can't go to farm. So how is he going to do that? Is he going to produce the products on the air? He is talking of pharmaceutical. The major pharmaceutical companies have left Nigeria. So what are we talking about? This talk is cheap. We can come on air and say what we want to say. You can have your say, and the economy will have its way. That's the way it is. The economic, I said it earlier, the economic indices does not support 1/4 of what he's saying. Look at the number of pharmaceutical companies that have left Nigeria. So where is it going to reduce the cost of pharmaceuticals? Go to the pharmacies and ask. This thing we used to test blood. In those days, before last year, we used to buy a pack of 50 for 5,000. It's now 25,000 naira, even more, depending on where you get it. Because the pharmaceutical companies have left the country. They are producing them, have left the country. So what are we talking about? We are junketing all of them over the place, saying we are looking for investment. Now, the world today is a global village. He went to France and was talking to Total. Total just left Nigeria, sold their assets worth $700 and something million dollars and left the country. You are now asking them to come back and they are promising you they are going to bring back $5 million and you are celebrating that? I don't know what's wrong with us. I don't understand. Honestly, I don't. Because these things, they are not cast in gold. You see them there play out. So we just come here and talk and talk and talk. Talk is very cheap. But the problem we have, how can we do those things? It's not possible. Look at the exchange rates. Look at the cost of fuel. Okay, let's even take fuel for example.
So are you faulting his approach to addressing these issues, or are you saying that there is no way at all out of this?
It's a no-brainer for anybody to come and say that those policies are going to work. Let me take the fuel prices, for instance. Now, before now, we had analysis that said what is causing the high cost of fuel is the taxes at the port, the freight, and what have you. Now, they say if you compute the dollar exchange rate and these taxes at the port, customs, this, that, by the time you compute all of them, they're about 600 and something. Now, if you are producing, if Port Harcourt is producing, Buharis is producing, they are going to surprise us with Kaduna, according to the NNPCL. They are going to surprise us with Kaduna as they surprise us with Buharis, where we have not seen the fuel. Now, if we remove this cost, why is fuel not costing 350 or 400 naira? Why is it still 900 and something naira? So you see, this is a talks that doesn't make any...
So you're saying that that drop in the fuel price is not achievement?
It's not achievement. It's not achievement at all. Considering what we had before now, we expected that by the time the refineries are working, the pump price of fuel will come down at least from 500 naira downwards. Now we'll begin to see the reality on ground. But with this, see, they are still importing fuel. And we know that there's a blending plant in Malta. We know that they want to buy another one in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know how that one went. So we know that some of these fuel are still coming in. We know the owners of these blending plants. So what are we talking here? We come here and tell people bullshit. These things don't work. Like the other man said, he just read what they have compiled for him to make him feel good. He knows the nitty-gritty of what is going on because he has been in that sector.
All right. Let me bring in Mr. Diran Odeyemi, who, of course, is the former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, into this, to react to this. Now, the president actually did say that he is going to drop inflation rate to 15%. The first time he made that statement was at the floor of the House when he was presenting the budget, and it seems to be resolute on this. Is this a tall dream or a tall ambition?
I want to believe that the prof in your studio spoke my mind. If I had been, at your studio, I would have thought perhaps the prof is looking at what I'm jotting down to say. But the truth is that I will still repeat myself. Maybe I need to put it in another form. It is good to tell Nigerians this is what I want to do, or this is what I can do. It is another thing to tell us how the process, to convince us how you want to do it. We are not convinced in any way. Let me give you an example. We have heard about the issue of terrorism being wiped off in Nigeria within 6 months. At a point in time, I want to bring you back. The federal government requested for a sum of 365 billion naira, telling us that within 6 months, with this amount, within 6 months, Boko Haram will become a thing of the past. But what is happening today? Terrorism is everywhere. Kidnapping is everywhere. Everything is upside down. The point is, by that time, when you ask the federal government, what have you done with all these your promises? What they said was, we are technically defeated Boko Haram. What is the technicalities there? So it's easier for politicians to deceive the electorate with political statement, not a policy statement. They make it look as if it is a policy statement, whereas it's a political statement. Rather than tell us that you are going to bring down inflation to 50% or whatever, let it reflect in the lives we live in Nigeria. Let it reflect in what we buy in Nigeria. Let it reflect in our daily life.
So what you are saying basically is that if all of this does not translate into people's pockets or their purchasing power, it's all just on paper. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying. That it is easier for the president to come on the floor of the Senate or Rep and say, yes, we are going to do this, this thing will be done. But the point is, people are dying on a daily basis. People are not feeling the effect of this government. Rather, people are dying. People are suffering. People are not even eating well. That is even if the food is available. So whatever policy you are throwing up, whatever you are saying to Nigerians, in as much as it has not translated into food on their table, it has not had any effect on their health facilities or infrastructure, you are not saying anything. What you are saying is just a political statement.
Okay, let me
understand it.
Let me bring in MTAR Muhammad. Now, the president, as part of the strategy to boost local production and also to boost the economy, he talked about in his speech the establishment of a national credit guarantee company to expand risk-sharing instruments for financial institutions and enterprises. According to the president, he said that this, of course, is a partnership of government institutions such as the Bank of Industry, the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Agency, and also the Ministry of Finance, which, of course, will work with both public, mostly private, and, of course, companies to sort of boost local production and also their sustainability. I'd like you to speak on this new establishment by the president.
Well, the president's speech is not new. I mean, more or less like a campaign speech. You are telling us what you do in 2025. What have you done in 2024? When you look at the credit scheme, you came out with a loan scheme for the student. How much of that loan scheme worked? How beneficial has it been, even if you say that it's beneficial? You talked about the Bank of Industry. You're talking about bringing in together some process to run that. For me, it's more or less duplication of policies, and we keep doing that over and over again. We just keep on establishing predecessors to appoint politicians into board to make their cronies MDs and whatever. So for me, I don't think it's rocket science, because you already have the Bank of Industry. You have to empower it. When you see anything that's run by government and is now it's not private sector driven. It's all about government, parastatals, government ministry being the backbone of establishment of that. It's never see the light of the day. What I expect the president to say is we are going to help some of the smaller business through credits from the banking sector or partnering with the banks. Or you see, the era whereby government decide to fund almost every project is over. These days globally, it's not done any longer. What we do is equity financing, whereby government use the project as a form of equity, and then you build and operate by the private sector. When you see government coming out with a policy like this, and it's likely going to be driven by Ministry of Finance, Minister and Sovereign Wealth, this and that, it normally doesn't have that structure to begin to run through. Very soon it will become the era we say, oh, constitutional is not permitted. If government have said that we want to give new licenses to people to come and help establish a credit rating firm, and in this government will have an equity share of so amount of percentage to support it, to make sure credit goes that, then I will be in support of it. But the situation whereby it looks like government is just out there to do what they have to do. You are creating more bokunes, you are creating more parastatals, you are creating more ministries, and then you are telling us that this is what will be achieved. I don't think, like the props say and the former secretary of the PDP say, when I look at the economic policy of the president in his speech. There's nothing new that he was telling us. These are things that he told us during the budget presentation. And I asked myself, how will you be able to reduce inflation by almost 60%? You made it at a height of, you made it at a low of 22.4%. You've taken it to 34% in 19 months. And in 12 months, you're telling us you bring it down. The key driver of Nigerian inflationary pressure is not the removal of most likely the removal of subsidy, which is part of it. The key driver of Nigerian inflation is FX volatility, because most of what we consume, we import. So the president came up with a policy that would have helped drive down that. And that policy was to be the removal of a tariff on food items. But up till now, within that policy for 6 months, did not see the light of the day. Rather, it was sneaked into this tax reform bill. And now that bill is going through a lot of challenges. So definitely we need to look ourselves at the president advisors need to tell the president the truth. What will bring down inflation in this country is fix the exchange rate. Let there be stability in that point so that foreign direct investors or foreign portfolio investors will be excited to come. No investor will come to your company. Nobody will invest in your country when your exchange rate is very, very unstable.
But talking about exchange rate, the president did say it's determined to sort of strengthen the Naira by dropping it from the current rate right now to about 1,500. He said that at the floor, of the House during the budget presentation.
When you listen to that, what are the modalities to strengthen the Naira? Number one, is those modalities under your control? One of those things is to make sure we have more importation of refined petroleum product. We are able to meet our export quota and be able to meet local consumption, so that when you have produced local crude to the refineries, then they will be able to have more PMS into the system, and that will drive down the price, and that will also drive down inflation. We have the oil benchmark at $76 per barrel, production at 2.03 million barrels. NNPC is even telling us they can't hike it to 3 million barrels. That is not in their hand, because, again, we still have the security challenges in the Niger Delta. How are you going to achieve that? If the president is telling me that he wants to drive inflation down by almost 50-something%, from the current height of 34% to about 15%, what the president is telling me in essence is that he will be able to bring exchange rate to half what it is today. Because, like I said, the key driver of inflation is not necessarily because the high price of refined petroleum product. It's not necessarily so much because of the removal of subsidy. If that is the case, now price has gone down, so inflation should naturally go down. The main driver of inflation, which the CBN have alluded to, is exchange rate. If you don't bring down that rate, you continue to have challenges, because we consume, even when we are not consuming, the machineries that we are importing into this country, we need FX to do it. The game changer would have been that policy to remove tariff on food items. The game changer would have been that able to subsidize be able to bring exchange rate down because of the coming of Dangote refinery, Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery this time. Because based on the data that the CBN gave to us, it said about 60% of the demand for FX is largely driven for the importation of refined petroleum products. And if we're not importing those products any longer, if you drop 60% in any company in terms of demand, that price of whatever goods they are selling will go down. And that will also, if you think you drop 60% off the pressure of the Naira, the exchange rate will naturally take its course downward. So we need to come up with this data and be sure of the data that we are coming up with, and we are able to just vanish numbers around and say, oh, I'll bring down inflation to 15%. What are you going to do to bring down those inflation? Where the key drivers of this inflation still remain a challenge to the government.
All right, MTAR Muhammad, let me come back to the studio, because I noticed that, Professor Na, you were really, you are itching to react to it.
I want to add to what he has just said. Now, you are saying you are going to bring down the cost of inflation, and you are putting the official rate of dollar at 1,500. Recall that in 2004, the official rate was lower than 1,000. I think it was about 1,004, 1,003 something. Now you pushed it up to 1,005. That's official rate. That's not the market rate. The market rate will go to 1,819, if not 2,000. And what is the tariff on commercial vehicles? Now, these are the things that hike inflation. Now, you are going to bring the cost of food. If you bring down the cost of food, how? Are you going to manufacture the food yourself? The farmers can't go to farms. The gen products that you are giving them have killed their farms. They are now saying that the local seedlings does not produce any longer. So you are talking of bringing machinery. You are not brought in machinery. You are talking of bringing in machinery. And farming season will soon start. And you see, this is just rhetorics. Now, go and check the tariff of commercial vehicles at the ports. Now, when these vehicles come down at that high rate, you expect a commercial driver to collect 1 naira from you to transport their goods to the market. These are the things that cause inflation. And they are not tackling it. They are just banding figures.
So I'm just going to ask this. Looking at the approach of this policy, it seems from top to bottom. Are we having a mismatch of policy where maybe at this point it needs to start from the bottom upwards?
Yes. You see, the MTAR was saying something. I even forgot. In 2010, I'm aware that the federal government empowered Bank of Industry because I was restructuring a company then. And they said, okay, all the companies, manufacturing concerns in Nigeria that took loans from companies, from banks, should now go to commercial Bank of Industry, and Bank of Industry will now give them a loan at a single rate of 7%. You know, all their loans will be consolidated. And then Bank of Industry will give them a loan to pay off what they are owing those commercial banks, and the balance, they will now use it to restart their companies. Even textile companies that were going down were asked to go and collect those loans. So why are we creating additional bodies? Just creating jobs for the boys? The Bank of Industry is still there. That policy was government policy. Why can't this government strengthen it instead of creating additional bodies here and there?
I mean,
just
so many
jobs for the boy, for Lagos boys.
So many, of course, loose ends. But let's move to another angle of that speech this morning that has to do with the Nigerian citizen. Of course, we know that when this administration came on board, it changed the national anthem to an anthem that was initially permit me to use the word, maybe rested, and then it brought it back and said, this should be the official anthem. It did not stop there. The president actually, in his speech this morning, did say that in order to boost citizen confidence, their devotion to the nation, patriotism, it would, of course, unveil a national values charter. Permit me to read the words of the president. He said, I will unveil the National Values Charter already approved by the Federal Executive Council in the first quarter of 2025. I will launch an ambitious national orientation campaign that fosters patriotism and love for our country and inspires the citizens to rally together. The charter will promote mutual commitments between the government and citizens and foster trust and cooperation amongst diverse population and between government and the citizens. End of quote. Wow. I would like to bring Mr. Diran Odeyemi into this. What do you make of this? Are Nigerians losing faith in the country?
I'm confused there. I'm confused because I don't know if a president that is government is telling us a manifesto, which he ought to have done during the campaign, or is telling us what he will do. The assumption is, I will do this, I will do that, I will do this, I will do that. They were supposed to be issues that will have come up during the electionary campaign, not when you are the president. Do what you want to do, give an appraisal of what you have done, then let us know the way and manner you want to turn, you want to administer the country in such a way that Nigerians, you put smiles on the faces of an average Nigerian. Not that I will do this, I will do that. So I'm confused. And in fact, the president is not at fault. The question Nigerians fail to ask is, during the electionary campaign, what were the promises?
They promised
of course, nothing. We couldn't say anything. All that we were saying, at the point in time, they were saying, black, blue, or whatever was the issue. So if the president is not saying, this is what I want to do, after how many months in office, or after how many years, let us continue to pray. Because in our prayer, we stand to benefit whatever is going to be the positive outcome of, I will do this, I'm planning to do this. Let us wish them the best. But right now, we are suffering. Nigerians are suffering. There has not been any improvement in the life of Nigeria since this administration came on board. All what we are saying is, give us good governance. Go back to the drawing board. Evolve a policy that will put smiles on the faces of Nigeria and stop telling us, this is my plan, I will do this, I will do it. Do it. Stop telling us I will.
All right. Let me take Professor Nna's thoughts on this briefly.
Well, what do I need to say? Like he said, he didn't promise anything. You see, the problem we have in this country is that we are not listening. The last administration in 2019 told us they are going to take us from top to bottom. And that was what he was saying when he was campaigning. And nobody paid attention to that. And he actually took us from top to bottom. This one said it is his turn. That was, check the campaign this thing now. All he was saying is a miracle. It was my turn. And at the end of the day, what he's doing is his turn. It is his turn to share the national cake. Simple and short. He didn't tell he was coming to do anything.
So are you saying that so far this administration has achieved nothing?
I'm not saying that. No, it would be very wrong, totally wrong to say they have not achieved anything. No, it would be absolutely wrong. But what we are saying is that the achievements, they are too minimal. They are pedestrian.
Exactly.
The achievements are pedestrian compared to the sufferings that the Nigerians are going through.
All right.
That's it.
Let me bring in MTAR Muhammad. Let's look at insecurity as it affects, what I call it, economic output of the nation, particularly in the area of food and even, business. Okay, I understand that we, of course, lost connection there with MTAR Muhammad. Let me come back to you, Mr. Diran. Mr. Diran Odeyemi, yes, let me come back to you on this. Okay, so let's look at insecurity as it affects not just the livelihood of Nigerians, but even the cost of living. We know that the president, of course, going back to the budget presentation, he did highlight the activities of terrorists, the bandits, and all of that, having, a huge impact, even on food production. How much of this do you think this has had? And looking at it vis-a-vis with the promise of the security, I'm saying that this year, Nigerians will notice a rapid drop in insecurity cases.
Thank you very much for this question. Recently, I read, part of the a newspaper report where it says that Nigerians and our people abroad paid almost 3-point-something trillion to effect the release of their relatives from kidnappers. Is this a good report? Is this something that we encourage an investor to come to Nigeria and say, yes, he's coming to do business with us? And has he stopped is the question. We have been on this kidnapping, terrorism, and everything for how many years now? For how many years? What has been the result? Nothing. We keep hearing in the next 6 months, in the next 5 months, in the next 1 year, it will become a thing of the past. Government should do something. If you are not capable of overcoming this problem, seek external reports, seek external support. Seek external support. Because it is certain that we are just using the issue of this terrorism to take off money from our treasury for something else. Because it has happened severally. You see our leaders coming into the assembly to seek for more funds that they want to use it to face terrorism. And what has been the results? What has been the outcome of all this money that Nigerians have spent on terrorism and kidnapping? So if the president is not telling us that he's going to intensify more effort in bringing it down or in eradicating it, we can only say we wish him all the best, because we will benefit from that prayer. And it is not a matter of just telling us, I will. If you know that the security people are not doing well, remove them and put competent and people who are able to do it well, put them there. You don't have to massage the ego of any military man, either the army, the air force, or the navy. You just don't make them security heads for nothing. The achievement lies in the fact that they are able to win this war against terrorism, against kidnapping. The police have not shied away from the fact that though it is an external aggression, it is an internal aggression, which is their duty. They have removed them, they have drawn to the background. It is not the military that is facing them. If within Nigeria, the military cannot overcome terrorism among ourselves, how far are we sure that if there is external aggression anywhere, that our military will perform? It's a big question. And I'm not sure if the president is doing anything about this. All that we do is scratching on the faces of the table. Yes, we will do this. Yes, we are going to overcome it. Yes, something will be done soon.
All right.
Let it be done now. Nigerians are suffering.
All right, Diran, you keep ending with that things really need to be done. We are tired of rhetorics. Nigerians want to see results. Well, let's look at the fight against corruption by this administration. Interestingly, there's a report, a very controversial report that was released recently by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, where it named the president as the third most corrupt leader in Africa. Let me just read that. President Tinubu of Nigeria, has claimed, as the top spot amongst the parade of world's most corrupt leaders. Now, the infamous award came after the Organized Crime and Corrupt Reporting Project called for citizens worldwide to nominate individuals worthy of taking the spotlight for their roles in advancing criminal activities while, aggravating poverty. But fast forward, this report actually put the president at the top, at the third spot. Of course, the president of Kenya, that's William Ruto, made it also to the top 3. And we are looking at administration that is pretty much tough, or let me use the word vocal, on fighting corruption.
Okay,
what does
like
this... I would like you to react to this vis-a-vis this ranking.
Yeah, I like the change of word from tough to, vocal. We just talk. We just talk. And we know what transpired during the election. All the corrupt issues that were raised, and they were swept under the carpets. Those issues are still there. We know what they are doing with corruption, even in this administration, right from day one. It's not only this administration. The government has been paying lip service to corruption. In the last administration, they told us that once you change to APC, your sins are forgiven. I want to think that this administration is following that paradigm because...
But this same administration has also emphasized that it's tightening up leakages.
Where? They said they discovered, was it 700 and something duplexes in Abuja, owned by who? They didn't mention, but I think the president in his speech mentioned, alluded the fact that it was owned by the former CBN governor. Now, you discover that the people that they are fighting are people that are against the government, or people that have one thing or the other against the government. Look at the way they rushed for the former governor of Delta. Look at the politics they have been playing with the governor of, what's the state again?
Kogi.
Central, Kogi. Look at the politics that they have been playing with him. Look at what happened in Ekiti, that a boy stole fowl and they gave him how many years imprisonment? You see, I don't understand this country any longer. I don't understand this country. Somebody stole fowl and they're giving him... no, it was even a death sentence.
It was in Osun State.
Yeah,
It was given a governorship pardon.
Yes, it was a death sentence.
Yes.
And people will steal trillions belonging to retirees. And you are talking of plea bargaining. I don't understand this country. Honestly, I don't. Honestly, if you ask me, I don't understand this country. So the former governor, the former prime minister of UK said Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. And they were calling for his age.
So are you
Did he say anything wrong?
Are you suggesting we are just playing lip service in our fight against corruption?
You just said it. I'm not suggesting it. You just said it. So I concur with what you say.
I'm just asking. Anyway, but let me ask Diran the same question. Diran, this current administration and its fight against corruption, are we getting there?
We said we are fighting corruption. We realize that we know within ourselves that corruption has won the war against us. What are we doing about it? What are we even talking about? Corruption in Nigeria? The whole world knows Nigeria to be the most corrupt country in the world. We don't have that good image when we leave this country, simply because of this corruption. Corruption is everywhere. And the government that said they want to fight corruption, the question you need to ask is, how many big names or big people have been jailed so far? Is it, yeah, you made somebody, your guest there mentioned, the issue of Kogi. In fact, I feel ashamed when I saw people welcoming the governor with pomp and, with drums and everything. I saw it on the internet. I just shook my head. Is this a country where you think we are fighting corruption? We don't know what the judiciary, whether to blame the judiciary or to blame the EFCC or whoever.
All of them.
The progress so far made about corruption is an indication that corruption has won the war against us. Who is actually fighting corruption? Don't let us even talk about this. We all know within ourselves that this government and even past government have been playing lip service to the issue of fighting corruption. Nobody is fighting corruption. It's only when you are against the government or you offend somebody that is powerful in government that you get attacked or they rope you with the hook of investigation. As far as I'm concerned, corruption is in Nigeria and Nigeria is in corruption. So there is nothing new, and we don't have that name, that good name in the Committee of Nations as a corrupt-free country.
All right.
Corruption is everywhere, and this government is not doing anything about it.
Okay, Diran, because we're really pressed for time, and we, of course, need to go. A quick question, and I would appreciate it if, of course, you gentlemen can just respond in 30 seconds. Now, the president, going back to his speech this morning, he talked about a youth confab, which will begin in the first quarter of 2025. And according to the president, a testament to its commitment to youth inclusiveness and investment as nation builders. The Ministry of Youth, of course, will soon announce the modalities for the selection of the conference representatives from diverse youth population. I'd like to put this vis-a-vis the Japa syndrome that, of course, Nigeria is currently facing. A bulk of it is young persons who maybe have lost faith and are looking for greener pastures elsewhere. And the president is saying, you know what, we should have a youth conference to maybe trash out some of these issues and find a way to include the youth in decision-making process. Professor Na, 30 seconds, your thoughts.
It's a jamboree. We did a confab in 2014 that would have changed the dynamics of politics in Nigeria, but they throw it to the dustbin. Those documents are still gathering dust. They are just picking and choosing the ones they feel that will benefit them from that document. Now, this one is not going to take a different shape. You see, a friend of mine in one studio said that while that confab, the 2014 confab came up, there was a cartoon in Vanguard that the president was reading the speech to inaugurate the confab, and they were throwing his speech to the trash can. At the end of the day, that was what happened to that, and that is what is going to happen to this one, Cure ED.
Diran, your final thoughts, sir.
It is another avenue to encourage or to put money in some, for some people to embezzle. Nothing is going to come out of it. I have two examples to make. There was something they call money meant for the market people or for small traders. We learned that fictitious names were put just to put this money in different banks. What happened to that investigation till today? We did not hear anything about it. Yes, some money, billions of naira, was voted for that. Another one is the issue of this student loan. How many students could say conveniently that they are benefited from this loan, yet they are youth? Now you are calling, you are saying you want to organize a youth confab. I don't see anything coming out of it. It's just an avenue to encourage some people to get more money in 2025. That's just it.
Interesting times, and of course, you've said a lot. Gentlemen, I really like to appreciate your time on the program. We can only hope that the new year, 2025, would indeed be a year of hope for many and, of course, majority of Nigerians. I'd like to say a big thank you for your time on the program. Diran Odeyemi, the former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, was, of course, joining virtually. I'd also like to say a big thank you to you two, sir, in the studio, Professor Simeon Nna, as a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, and have a prosperous new year.
Thank you very much.
And also a big thank you to MTAR Muhammad, who joined us at some point, but we, of course, lost contact with him as the CEO of Finance with MTAR. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for your time. Well, it's a new year and, of course, new beginnings. Some would even say resolution. Please don't lose faith. It's important that you start on a very strong and optimistic note and be out there to achieve your dreams. From all of us here at News Central, we wish you a prosperous new year. Thank you so much for making out time to be on the program or be, a viewer on the program tonight. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. That's at News Central TV. You can also look out for a repeat broadcast later tonight. You can choose to follow us across social media. The handle is there on your screen at News Central TV. You can also choose to follow me personally at Dakpo at Digboyi. It's a bright year. Good evening. Thank you for your time.